You know, it's been a while since I've done like a monthly artist focus. But I have no idea who to do next. Nothing comes to mind. Oh well. Time for breakfast. Hello everyone and welcome to SWANSTEMBER. On this episode I've got Come Down Machine, and not gonna lie, this album's pretty come down. Hello everyone and welcome to SWANSTEMBER. Swans are arguably my favorite band. They have covered so much material. They've had so many eras and all of them have been super pleasing. This is a band that knows how to transform itself time and time again. Mostly thanks to the mastermind behind it all, Michael Girard. The most consistent thing about Swans is that throughout era after era, lineup after lineup, the music remains very sonically dark, very foreboding. From noisy no-wave to folk rock, Swans are always on the dark end of the spectrum. I simply can't name another band as consistent with its quality as Swans. Not for as long as they've been going. Only other band I could say is nearly as consistent in quality is Radiohead, and they've only been going since the 90s. And when it comes to individuals, I would say Tom Waits is pretty equally consistent. I still think Swans wins out for me because as great as Tom Waits has been since the 70s, Swans have changed way more. Swans has embodied what could be considered like 6 or 7 different bands. And the first album in their wide discography is Filth. Released in 1983, Filth is the most iconic album of their early no-wave era. The sound of this album, and kind of this entire era for the band, is just incredibly dark, fearsome, and brutal. It's very primitive in nature, like an even blend of rock and what cavemen might play in some sort of dark ritual. The vocals are very short and simple. They come out like aggressive primal thoughts. It's lyrically very in your face, which makes for a lot of memorable lines such as "Use your hands to break things!" and of course the famous "Flex your muscles!" Be hard! The guitar work is so distorted and noisy and squelching. This album definitely operates in the noise rock territory. Like, it's not just simply loud, fuzzy, and distorted. It's like intimidating. A very torturous sound comes from these guitars. Meanwhile, there's something oddly groovy to the bass lines in a lot of these songs, adding something to this album that is kind of unique to itself in the grand scheme of the Swans discography. Like, you can nod your head to a lot of these songs in a way you simply can't with a lot of their other early stuff. And the drums just seem to always be sluggishly pounding along to everything. Just like everything else, it just sounds so scraped together. All of the song's structures are very simple and repetitive to reflect the nature of the album's sound. There is no complex, this section of the song, this section of the song, verse, chorus, bridge, any of that. It's just this constant flow of pounding and shouting and guitar screeching. Some of the songs are a little more stripped back than others, offering only occasional guitar work, and this really lets the percussion set more of the mood of the song. Yet, despite all this, there's something oddly relaxing to Filth that you don't really get with a lot of other early Swans works. In a weird backwards way, it kind of puts my mind at ease. It's got the same kind of painful satisfaction as completing a good workout, which goes pretty hand in hand with the aforementioned "Flex your muscles! Come back!" To a degree, I'd call this album hypnotic, and I think the bass lines really add to that. And without a doubt, it is definitely primally cathartic. Filth is a very human album in the most stripped back, primal way possible. And that pretty much sums it up. I wish I had more to say because I think this album deserves a little more talking about, but it's very simple in a way that says a lot. Filth is that type of album that may not have that much depth, but it's still monster in scale, it's super unique, extremely memorable. Doesn't matter how you feel about it, you cannot deny this is one of the most unique albums in Swans' discography, and I think the simplicity of the arrangements on this album only work in its benefit. Like, this album is both minimalist in structure and maximalist in sound. You've heard it a few times, you've pretty much got the entire gist of the album, but it's a pretty dang good gist. This has been Jezza, and tune in next time when I get beaten to death by cops. Ah. Oh. That was refreshing. There's no such thing as perfect courage.